Da-da-da-da, now you do what they told you. Da-na-na-na, now you do what they told you. Da-na-da-na, now you do what they told you. Na-na-na-na, now you do what they told you. Testify that I am for the science guy, and you will submit and buy my expensive capitalist ticket to come see my show. Testify. F you, I won't do what you told me. F you, I won't do what you tell me. You know, I'm trying not to swear because I'm trying to keep it wholesome, because I actually don't want to sing all those lyrics. Greetings, friends. When it comes to the subject of Rage Against the Machine, this band from the 90s that is still popular today, I guess they're somewhere between, they're not metal, they're more closer to punk, but they have an element of kind of rap. The lyrics are somewhere between singing and rapping. They produce good music in the sense that Nine Inch Nails produced good music, high production value, good riffs, catchy riffs, sick and distorted you might call them, and that's a whole other question of how that affects consciousness, for better or for worse, but that's another discussion. But definitely a popular band in the Generation X, millennials. I would have expected that most of us would know who Rage Against the Machine was. I wasn't ever really a big fan of their music per se, but they definitely had some quote kick-ass songs for their time. So in that sense they were talented, but I never really got into them. They came to Toronto recently, and from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I did search online, and from what I heard, from what I saw on the ticket sites, even though the event is now over, was that they were requiring you to go along with C-virus restrictions, or depending on what the event organizer would be requiring. So it wasn't like a one-size-fits-all maybe thing for their tour, but at least in this case, maybe it was, I don't know, but in this case of them coming to Toronto, I do believe that you did need to either show proof of a negative test or the stabby passport itself being required. There was a big discussion going on in this I was following, so as far as I know this is true, but again, correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, the spirit of this band is against Jesus Christ. Despite all the good things, you can have good music, you can even have a good artist that maybe you can appreciate, but you can still see how the spirit of the band has always been against Jesus Christ. It's rebellion for rebellion's sake only leads to serving Satan. You're just going to rebel, you're going to hate the man, and then a lot of it leads into delusion anyways. They have probably a very distorted view of what America is, what Western culture is. You could call them a commie band, and they kind of are, but at the same time they've been happy to benefit from the capitalist system, and the ticket prices were probably not going to be cheap. I don't know what the exact price of the tickets were, but we could be talking some hundreds. With musicians of this caliber, generally speaking, they're going to have a lot of money. Now, I don't know, maybe the Rage Against the Machine doesn't have a lot of money and they live in public housing, or they live in a trailer with common folk. I would be surprised if that's the case, but tell me if I'm wrong. So I figured that this band was always kind of a commie thing, but it's funny to see how this thing really just like shows itself so blatantly. How you think you're fighting, you're the underdog. It illustrates, for one thing, like I said, rebellion for rebellion's sake only leads to service to evil. But on the other thing it illustrates is that the left believes that it is the underdog, that it is oppressed, that they have to believe that so that they can channel and build up the energy to continue to participate in revolution, which is what we're witnessing since the French Revolution, or even before that, is continuous stage of revolution. And we are now in a continuous period of cultural revolution. And Rage Against the Machine have, you could say they sold out, but as one person I work with pointed out, they have also bought in. Rage Against the Machine has really bought in more than they have sold out, so to speak. They have bought in to the nonsense and the lies, and they require that you receive the scientistic Eucharist. You will partake in the body and the blood of scientism. It's not even about irony at that point. It's something beyond. It is terrible and horrific, and it is fitting and poetic and even appropriate. It is many things. I also noticed that they're anti-white. And it's true, because I went on their YouTube channel, or what seemed to be their YouTube channel. They had a documentary from 2021 recently. It's more of just a 15-minute mini propaganda piece. It's not really a documentary. They got a hold of some group of 7 or 8 white kids in a rural area and just seemed to exploit them, showing them being talked to by a leftist man telling them an anti-white narrative. And it's weird, they're even scrambling our own minds, and they're scrambling the minds of the kids, because even in this short thing they're saying whiteness is not a real thing, but it's a bad thing. They were saying like, oh, well, there was only Scottish people or Italian people or whatever, and there were the white people. And in a sense that's true, but why? But you're presenting that idea, and then you're just going off on this thing about how white people just came and destroyed everything, and it's just disease, and it's wrapped up with Christian stuff too, and they're showing, you know, they're focused on the KKK, and they show a cross at the beginning, and a lot of it's just like cinematic and very artistic with the filming technique. It's not like a real documentary, but I saw that, you know, that's not surprising. I already knew that they were kind of like that, but it is just, you know, it is many things. Like there's many moments for pause for people who maybe they didn't realize what Rage Against the Machine was all about. Overtly rebellious culture is always going to take away your freedom, and it's going to take away your individuality. Look at, like I mentioned, this whole culture, like from the beginning, it does tend towards a deep resentment to the idea of hierarchy and divine authority, and ultimately into nihilism and rage and violence. And they have to believe that they're on the side of the underdog, when really they're participating in the very system which is enslaving all the races. Hasta luego, amigos.